What is up, everybody? We're just gonna start it off like that. Welcome everybody to another episode of the award-winning. I ain't really win no awards. Put it in universe though. Welcome everybody to another episode of InfoSec Unplugged. I am your host, Davin Jackson, also known as DJax Alpha. I thank you for joining. I know you could be anywhere in the world on this Thursday. It's a bright, beautiful Thursday for most places, but you're here with me, and I greatly appreciate that. I'm super excited to have my guest on tonight. But before I do that, just let me know how everybody's doing this week in the chat. You know, if you're having a rough week, easy week, if it's a good week, just let me know. I'm actually having a really great week. Had a conversation with a really good friend of mine, and just really put a lot of things in perspective, and it just kind of reiterated that I was doing a lot of the things that I felt was right. Shout out to my wife, because she's always usually the one who says it first, but they just all pretty much agreed with her. But again, how are y'all doing? Everything's good. That's great. And I'm super excited about my guest. I love what he's doing. I love what he's doing in the community. I love the fact that he basically built it on his own and is doing some amazing things, and in, I guess, what some would consider an unconventional way, but that's what makes it so great. So before I even go ahead in any more of a rant, let me bring my guest in. So ladies and gentlemen, everybody in the chat, please welcome Aaron Brooks from Mastermind Academy. And we're going to bring him in here. How you doing, sir? Quick applause.
Pretty good, man. Thank you. Can you hear me? Because my audio setup is always random. Perfect. All right.
Nah, you're good.
I love
it. Thank you for joining the show. Big fan of what, I guess you could say I'm one of those that kind of watch from afar and just love what you're doing. Like I said, you don't know it, but you're definitely laying the blueprint for a lot of us, me included. So again, I just wanted to give you your flowers before we even get started with that. And but for those who don't know who you are, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
One, I appreciate that a lot. Also, I'm taking notes. The production quality here is absolutely phenomenal. But it's a pleasure to meet everybody. My name is Aaron Brooks, and I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Mastermind. It's a digital engineering pipeline company located out of Baltimore. But a lot of people know me from Mastermind Academy. This is a bootcamp style training series that we run on Twitch. Actually, that's where it started. That's where we run it. That's where we're probably always going to run it for the foreseeable future. But if you want to learn anything, software, anything that supports software delivery, so software engineering, computer science, cloud computing, DevOps and site reliability engineering, we're going to be doing some data stuff, some machine learning stuff. We teach it for free. The goal is to really lower the barrier for getting into tech, make sure that we can extend the opportunity to learn technical concepts to anybody, anywhere, and hopefully make it engaging, make it fun, make it approachable, make sure people know that they don't need to be an Einstein to get it. Because you know, we really are normal folks out here, you know, making a great life for ourselves. And so it's all about extending that opportunity. That's all.
Absolutely. And again, thank you for joining. And we're going to get into everything with the Academy and Twitch shortly. But for those, well, actually, I'm actually curious to know too, like how'd you get started? I mean, I see that it says you're in DevOps, but so how'd you get your start?
My start in tech or my start in streaming?
Tech.
Okay, so tech. So I've always been a tinkerer. So like I was fortunate enough to I used to mess around with a lot of toys and take stuff apart, and I always wanted to see how things worked. I actually got to participate with this nonprofit called Patriots Tech. I'm located out of Maryland and DMV. And I got to participate with this nonprofit to build robots when I was like 14 or 15. And it was cool. We did like a little competition at the Naval Stadium. It was pretty cool. And I got to learn, that's my first foray into like seeing how you program up something. And so that was pretty exciting. And I was able to get a computer early. We actually had a family friend who actually sold computers and gave my dad a heck of a deal on one. And so I got to get into computers pretty early, but I didn't get into programming at all. I just played games, to be honest, and looked at things I probably should have been looking at on the internet, to be honest. But, you know, I never got into the real programming stuff, but I was like, oh, I want to work with computers. That seems like a good path for me. When I went to college at University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and I was like, oh, cool, I'll do computer engineering. I don't know why I'll do computer engineering, but I'll just do compy. And I joined it, and I absolutely hated it. It was not what I thought it was going to be. It was pretty miserable. I switched to mechanical engineering. Same thing, not what I thought it was going to be. So I left that. Then I went to comp sci. Comp sci was what I thought it was going to be, but I hated it, and I got weeded out of all of the weed out courses. So I switched to IT or information systems, and that's where that's where I stayed, but I actually never finished. I never finished because I actually ended up getting a job in IT. I was fortunate to get an internship my freshman year before my grades got too bad at the National Institutes of Health. And it was cool. I learned a little bit. I didn't really learn that much about IT, but I was doing some desktop support stuff. So I was resetting people's printers, and I was, fixing sound drivers and stuff like that. Little stuff like that, which was helpful, but it looked good on the resume. And that helped propel me forward a little bit. And I got more help desk roles. And that's where I really started my career in help desk. And then I saw how much systems administrators were making. And one day while I was at a job, they asked me if I wanted to apply for a sysadmin role. And I said, yeah, like it makes way more. I don't really know what you do, but I'm going to apply for that thing. And so I did that. And so I followed the path of a systems administrator, specifically Linux. I spent a lot of time diving into Linux. And so Linux is close to my heart. It's at the core of everything. If anyone ever asks me what things they should learn, Linux is what you should learn first, no matter what you're going into. Linux is a great place to start. But I was a Linux administrator for a long time, and I kind of got to the end of the salary cap, or at least that I could find as a Linux administrator. And then I saw this thing called DevOps early on, and I saw the salaries were massive, and it felt like I could do the job, but I didn't have any I still didn't know how to program. It wasn't something I was into. So I went and learned Puppet, which is a configuration management tool. If you ever use SaltStack or Ansible's the big one right now, or Chef, they all do the same thing, but it allows you to codify the configuration of your servers. Say, hey, I want these packages installed. I want these services running, and they better be there when you check in. And they'll check in every so often, and it'll make sure that the server is set up in the way that you declared it to be. And so all I did was learn Puppet a little bit. I went on A Cloud Guru, and I learned Puppet. No, I went on Linux Academy, and I learned Puppet a little bit, and literally with a little bit of Puppet experience and the same Linux experience I had, I got a job as a DevOps engineer. My first role as a DevOps engineer, making way more money doing the same thing I was doing before, which was super duper interesting. And I kind of followed that path. I really liked DevOps. I really liked being closer to the software. And then so I started to dive in. I was like, now's the time. Let me try to learn how to code again. And I really dove into software. I really dove into knowing how to understand a lot of these things. And I actually ended up leading a software team, which was pretty cool. I was a tech lead on a software team that I was originally a DevOps engineer for. So it was really cool to participate kind of on the full scope of things from the very beginning to the end, and be able to handle all of the pieces there. And that's kind of how I ended up where I am today. Ended up starting to share my knowledge, and a couple years later, we are where we are today.
Hold on, we're gonna so we're gonna have to drop that in there for a second, because you talk about something that I'm sure you've seen it on Twitter. It's a controversial point these days where some people are telling you, well, people like you or myself, and I know there's a few others who are saying, listen, there's nothing wrong with getting that experience, that initial experience from help desk. And then you have those who are basically, I call them the ones that kind of want to get to the bag quickly, that are just like, you don't have to do it, and why should you do it, and if you do it, you're holding yourself back, and all this other nonsense. But talk about the importance of gaining that initial experience, because I talk about it all the time. Like my first job, I guess you can consider it kind of help desk. Like I was a Circuit City fire dog guy when I first got my start, and I did that because I couldn't get a job at the help desk. I was so brand new. So the guy, the manager at Circuit City, the PC bench tech quit, and they were like, we're going to hire someone else. And I said, hey, I'm doing home theaters. Why don't you let me do this when I'm not doing home theater installations, and give me a couple more bucks? And I mean, granted, I practically lived in the store because now I was going back and forth, but that shaped what would then turn into a legitimate help desk role, and then just going from there and doing a lot more. So I never have anything negative to say about help desk, but why don't you talk about the importance of the help desk?
Yeah, so you brought back some crazy memories because I actually worked at while I was in college, I worked at Best Buy, and I applied to get in the Geek Squad, and I didn't get in after someone I already had help desk experience, and I did not get a Geek Squad role, and I was hurt. They gave me a role in the in home theater, and that's where I worked. It was close to school. I took it anyway, and it was it was okay. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it at the same time. But I think so. I love help desk. I tell people to go that route very, very often, especially when you're trying to get your foot in the door, when you're trying to figure out if tech is the right thing for you, for a number of reasons. One, it allows you to be exposed to a lot of different things in what I feel is a relatively safe environment. Usually, help desk structure, you usually have levels, so you can escalate things when they're too difficult. You get slotted. You can get slotted in the right place, and you can.
Go on, continue, sir.
Yeah, so you can learn and you can try to do things, and if it's out of your range, you can escalate it and you can learn from people above you. There's simply people to learn from above you. I think this is important because because tech is so all over the place, because there's so many different things, it's easy for people to get discouraged when they're overloaded with things they can't do, that they're not familiar with. And so it gives you an opportunity to start to touch things that you're not comfortable with, and an easy path to offload them. The biggest benefit, I think, is the ability for you to learn how to problem solve. And it's a skill that a lot of people, people solve problems all the time, but it's a skill that takes a while for people to learn how to apply into the technical realm. A lot of people are used to learning how to do something and applying that how to do something to their job and say, hey, yeah, I can do it if you teach me how to do it. And when people say that, they think you mean, hey, run these 5 steps and we're good to go. The problem is tech isn't always like that. There are some times when it is, but it's not always like that. And help desk forced me at least to understand, to pay attention to what I was doing, to the way that systems work, to the way that structures worked, and how to trace things, how to figure out what actually is the cause of this thing. And I think that was crucially important in my development as an engineer, as a professional, and it made things a lot easier for me, because once you get that down, when you get put in front of a problem that you're not comfortable solving technically, you can solve it as a real you can simply solve it as a real problem. Hey, I don't know what settings need to be set here. I don't know what code snippet needs to be put here, but I can start to pinpoint where the problem is happening at, and I know a place to focus on. I think that help desk gives people a really good insight into that. And the last big thing is customer service. Like, I was customer facing. You're not always customer facing, but having good customer facing skills saves you all across the board. I've been in roles where I was absolutely not a good fit for that role, where everyone thought I was amazing though, because I would interface with the customers in lieu of a lot of other people on the team. And it was like, oh, Aaron's the greatest. Like, he's the best engineer ever. And it's like, no, I don't know what I'm doing here. But because of my years of customer service, those skills really helped me out and really helped me grow long term. I just think it's a good place to start. It's also solid money for most people who are trying to get in. Like, help desk, I was the most I've made. I was making $65,000-$70,000 in help desk roles, kind of at my peak help desk time. Okay. And and so I mean, let me be very clear. I started out making $32,000.
Okay.
Driving almost an hour and a half to get there. So let me be clear about that. But it's still something you can make good money in. I think people look at it a little bit weird, but it's a good place to go.
No, yeah, I think I'm glad you cleared that up. That when you get to like tier 3, or but I'm glad that you mentioned that, because the customer service things, and I would say the other thing that ties into it is those communication skills. To me, help desk teaches that immediately, because especially if you're customer facing, because You have to know how to talk to the customer. You have to know how to verbally communicate, write handwritten communication or typing communication, because usually when you're working in a help desk, what are you doing? You're submitting a ticket and you're talking about what you had to do and what troubleshooting steps you took and what the customer said, and
Yep.
and to close the ticket out. When you're in the PC bench, same thing. Hey, customer came in with this problem. Why? Because you need to have that information, because in certain situations, that's how you know how to charge, what to charge them, right?
Yep.
If you don't have those written communication skills, how are you going to be able to tell them, say, okay, I fixed this, and this because this was the problem, and I was troubleshooting this issue because this was the symptom. And then I think the other thing is, especially in a lot of help desk roles, especially in cable companies, a lot of cable companies and internet service providers, you're on a clock. Like they usually want you on and off a call in less than 6 minutes. So now it teaches you that troubleshooting while having that customer service, while having those written and verbal communication skills on the fly. So it teaches you to okay, not necessarily memorize everything, but by effectively communicating, because sometimes you're dealing with customers who aren't computer savvy. So you got to basically translate what they're saying to go, I already know what that is. I need to do this. I need to do that. And that's what. So I tell people all the time, yeah, get yourself a job. I mean, unfortunately, there aren't too many out there. I know Geek Squad is still around. I think Staples has a PC bench. But yeah, get yourself a help desk role or one of those PC bench roles, because that'll teach you on the fly. I mean, for me, that's how I learned my A+, because I literally have my A+, my CompTIA book open while I'm taking apart a PC, going, okay, that's a hard drive, that's a CMOS battery, that's over here, that's the RAM, that, so definitely, take advantage of those opportunities. So before we get into it, because I see y'all are jumping tonight. Again, my pack, I'm gonna give y'all an applause too. I'm in a good mood, man. Again, I don't think I can express my love and appreciation for everybody that's here, and even those that aren't here this week, but the ones that support me through the ups, through the downs, through when it was 2 people watching. Now I think there's like 15. I don't care. I'm just glad that y'all are here and y'all talking to me and talking to Aaron. I appreciate y'all. And for those who are new, welcome to InfoSec Unplugged. This show, I bring in people from all over tech and cybersecurity. We talk about our experiences, the highs, the lows, the ups and downs, hopefully to give you some insight into something that you may have already known or something that you didn't know before. And the reason why we do it live is so we can have this interaction with the chat that you see right now, which I also call my pack. And for those, you can ask me anything, ask my guest anything, but keep it clean and respectful, because unlike other shows, I will match your energy and I don't care if I get in trouble.
Love it.
So real quick, let's see. I saw a couple. Where are we? Compendium 66 says Fire Dog. I was Geek Squad, man. Listen, gang, Fire Dog all day. Now, Kalila Scott says help that saved my life and taught me a lot. No, a lot of people sleep on it, but it's a really great start. And the thing is, they're always hiring. They're always hiring
all the time.
So
everyone's not built to, again, like a lot of it, especially if it's customer facing, like not internally customer facing, but externally customer facing, even internal. People aren't built for that, and people, get frustrated, and a lot of the jobs are high turnover. So there's usually jobs available. If you can really own those in, you can kind of have your way with the industry, to be honest.
Yes, and that, like I said, that's your foot in the door. Let's see, we have King Charles 921, first time here. We're gonna give you an applause and welcome you. We're gonna welcome you to the show. Again, this is InfoSec Unplugged. Again, I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you like it, and leave a comment in the comment section below wherever you're watching, whether it's Twitch or YouTube. But also make sure you tune in and check out the previous episodes, and make sure you tune in the next couple weeks because we're going to be celebrating 50. We're gonna go to InfoSec Unplugged episode 50, and I want to have a big celebration. So make sure you tune in for that too. Let's see everybody else. We have Kev Tech here, Struggle Security, Maddox, Professor Black Ops, Infinite Logins, Cyber Kenna, another friend of the show. Let's see, Philip Wiley. Phil, thank you. Let's see. I see you put he's like, don't you have a JD Power Award? No, sir. I don't have any awards, at least not yet. If they have one for Cybersecurity Podcast, I would gladly accept it. Let's see, Kev, appreciate the $10. Again, anything that you do helps support the show, goes right back into the show to get this production up and keep everything going. Anonymous, friend of the show, may the cloud be with you, sir. Let's see. So Aaron, so you talked about, you started from the help desk, you worked yourself up, and then you basically taught yourself, coding and stuff like that to kind of get to where you are now doing DevOps. For those who don't know, what does that job entail?
Good question. There's always a really tough thing to talk about because there's the conceptual understanding of what it's supposed to be, and then there's how the world really uses it. And so what it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be a cultural movement, professional and cultural movement to help organizations develop software as fast as they want to. And so it's really about structure. It's not really a technical thing. It's not tools that you use. It is it's kind of a framework a little bit for the way that you build software effectively, quickly, and the systems that you set up to be able to support that. And so that's what a DevOps engineer is supposed to do. The DevOps engineer is supposed to have the developer is supposed to be the customer of the DevOps engineer rather than them building the product for the outside world. We're here to serve the developers and give them the tools and the pipelines. And so day to day, really what you're doing is you are building those pipelines to help developers get code from their computer out into the real world. And so, when you think about how to set up, if we're going to bring on developers, what is their development environment going to look like? And writing the configuration files and the Docker files or the Vagrant files or whatever it might be to allow a developer to be able to spin up a full development environment on their system locally as quickly and easily as possible. How are we going to set up our Git workflows to make sure that we can move code, we can promote code through our infrastructure, through our environments as seamlessly as possible? How are we going to set up the tools, the CI pipelines to be able to run tests against these things and automatically deploy them to, our development environment or our staging environment so that people can see it and help understand it and test against it? And then how do we get it out into the real world? How do we configure the servers and the services to work together? How do we make sure that millions of people, it's not always millions of people, but how do we make sure that these applications are resilient, reliable, and working? Is what the goal is, kind of a full scope thing. But in the real world though, a lot of jobs, that's true of some jobs, but a lot of jobs, this is now a systems administrator who knows the cloud and might have a little bit of automation experience, whether that be with bash scripting, some type of scripting language, or with a tool such as Terraform. And that's what it is at a lot of places, and that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. But at a lot of places also, it's, these DevOps engineers are building tools to help the developers be able to move faster. So you might write a command line tool so that your developers can spin up their own AWS infrastructure without having to learn Terraform, without having to know about AWS. You can have them, you can build a little tool for them to say, hey, I want one server, please, and allow them to easily interact with that. But the goal is, you never know what you're going to be doing, because the goal is to really help the developers develop as fast as they need to.
Absolutely. Before I get into that real quick, I just want to I just saw what you said earlier about your week. Congratulations. I saw
Thank you.
I saw the comment. That's an amazing thing, especially in this market right now. I know it's crazy, but
Yes, sir.
For those who don't know, Aaron just said he closed on his first home, and like I said, that's an amazing feeling. So congratulations to you.
Appreciate it.
And then Compendium 66 says, I thought DevOps gave you magic powers.
Some people say that, if you consider them powers, great. But it's interesting because it's surprisingly simple. The knowledge is the knowledge necessary is wide. Like you need people talk about the T-shaped developers and knowing a lot, knowing a little bit about a lot of things, but going deep in some categories. DevOps is the top part of that T. Like you have to know all of the pieces. You got to know the networking, you got to know the cloud stuff, you got to know a little bit of programming, you got to know a little or a lot about systems, Linux and managing systems, and there's just a lot. So you got to know about version control with Git and things like that. And so there's a lot of topics, but in my mind, it gets to be much easier than like now that I've been in the development world. To me, a lot of that stuff is a little bit more straightforward. A lot of the rules are more concrete. Things like development are so abstract, so it's always interesting to hear people come in and say, developers come and say, "Oh, DevOps is so crazy. You guys are so smart." And it's like, nah. I've just seen a lot. I've just seen a lot of things, and people feel like people always say like, "Well, you guys are amazing." And it's like, okay, I mean, I do think anyone can learn it. It's just it is time consuming. It does take years of experience to do so, but I don't think the role itself is particularly difficult. We did say at DevOps Days Baltimore, we had a conversation about this because there's so many different topics. I do want people to understand we claim that there's no JV, there's no junior varsity for DevOps for the most part. Like the industry hasn't created a space for it because there's so much to know. But I wouldn't be afraid of it. If you've been someone who's been looking into it, don't be afraid of it. It's just a lot of topics. I think it's a lot of approachable topics. None of them necessarily are really difficult. Programming to me is much harder than all of them.
Yeah. I'm someone who's not a big fan of programming either, but no, I agree 100% that the DevOps people do have a lot to learn. And now with the implementation of DevSecOps, where now you're incorporating security, I always, as a security person, I always kind of have like a soft spot and feel bad because it's like, I know that the DevOps teams usually have a lot going on. And a lot of times, and executives will get mad at me, but screw it. It's not like I have to answer to anybody right now. A lot of times they're given instructions and they're pretty much told almost like security can be an afterthought. And then the security team comes in and security's like, whoa, what are you doing? Why haven't we done this or threat model this or whatever? And then when it goes to the same management who kind of said, don't worry about it. Now they're like, yeah, security, and it kind of leaves the DevOps teams in an awkward position because now it makes them look like the irresponsible ones and the bad guys or bad people, I should say. So, yeah, I think it is challenging, but like you said, don't be scared of the job. With the cloud booming the way it is, with cybersecurity booming the way it is, that is going to be, if not already, a hot sector. Mm-hmm. Right. And like you said, if you know a little bit of coding, if you know how to implement, cloud configurations and VPCs and stuff, and if you can, and you know about a little bit about security, and you can mold all of that into one, you will find yourself in a very nice position, paying very well. So stay with it. Friend of the show, Charles Sher gives the owl yip and says, "What's up, everyone?" Real quick, I did see a question from King Charles. Says, I just got a support job with 2 weeks training, no other IT background. Congratulations.
Congrats.
That's impressive. I need to get AWS certs, but never got A+, Network Plus, etc. Should I get those certs or keep building with AWS? If you already know computers, I would say, you could probably skip the A+. I'm a big advocate for saying no matter what you do, you should always get the Network Plus because it gives you that foundational knowledge as opposed to jumping into something like the TCNA. So get the Network Plus and learn the basic foundations of subnetting, TCP IP, OSI models, TCP versus UDP, and then also your TCP ports or UDP ports. Network Plus is perfect for that. If you want to get into networking a little bit deeper, then go look at Cisco. And then I would also say probably look at the Security Plus just to have a foundational knowledge of security as well. And then, jump and grab an AWS cert. So I would probably say Network Plus, Security Plus, and then look at some cloud from there. Aaron, what is your take on it?
Definitely don't think you. I don't think you need the A+. I think maybe if you're not because of the way the cloud works, and you're going to be diving into cloud computing, which separates a lot of services by computer resource type, it might be worth watching a quick refresher or some videos about A+ if you're not familiar with computers and how they work. Might be helpful, but I don't think you need to study for the test. I would say the same thing for Network Plus. I do agree networking is one of the most important things that you should learn. This is coming from someone who, out of all of my skills, I think my networking is the weakest at all. It's the one that I'm least confident about. I wish I would have spent more time on, and I plan on spending more time with now. I mean, I definitely know a lot, but it's definitely in comparison to other things far behind. I would say again, I would actually study for the Network Plus test. I might skip the stress of trying to pass it, since you do have to go for those AWS certs. And so, I'd go over the material and start to learn those things. I think very core foundational knowledge that will help you forever. So learn those things. Same thing for Security Plus. Like I don't necessarily think you need it. Like, you don't need the cert. You need the knowledge that the cert might provide, but I don't think you necessarily need the cert.
I think because since your foot's already in the door,
yeah.
What I would just say is stick with that job for a little bit just to gain that experience.
Agreed.
And look, YouTube, just YouTube A+, Network Plus, Security Plus. I know Professor Messer and a few other people have some free videos out there. Take advantage of that. Yep. So definitely do that. Let's see here. Let me make sure. Hey, Mary Galloway's here. Hey, Mary. Still got to talk to you. I know. Don't yell at me just yet. All right. So, Aaron, so you talked about moving your way up and everything, and now you're here. What challenges have you faced in your career or you still face? It could be in your career, it could even be what you're doing with the academy, but what challenges have you faced?
Yeah, so the big one that everyone always faces is imposter syndrome. It's something that you can't get around it. If you've never heard about the Dunning-Kruger effect, I would check that out. But it's basically just a kind of a little view about how you feel and your confidence level, depending on compared to what you've learned so far, and how there's a point where you start to realize how much there is to know, and that makes you feel worse and worse and worse about yourself. Where your confidence before was super high, but you start to get more confident as you continue to learn. But definitely imposter syndrome. The best way out of that for me was to talk to people and to go different places and to realize a lot of people out here are faking it, for sure. Everyone, there aren't as many absolutely amazing people out here as you think there are, and that helped a lot. Like it wasn't necessary. It didn't stop me from believing that I really don't know this stuff. It showed me that I don't need to know every single thing to be valuable at an organization. I don't need to know every single thing to be useful. And once I started to feel that way, I haven't felt imposter syndrome in a at least technically in a very, very long time, which has been super duper helpful. But again, that came from a lot of people when they get imposter syndrome, shut down a little bit and go into their own corner and fight through it on their own. The more and more you open up about things, the more questions you ask, you realize the people who you thought were the smartest people in the world, you're like, I'm not understanding this concept. And they'll be like, oh, I don't know what that is either. And you're like, whoa, okay, that's eye-opening. Like, and you can work through it together. And the more and more you pair program with people at work and work through problems together, you'll start to see, you have strengths that they don't have, and there's discrepancies between what and you can all add to it to solve the problems. And so that's definitely probably the biggest one. I think that's the one that stops people in their tracks, stops people from going farther in the industry. The other one was, so I've had a lot of success in the roles that I've gotten.
Yep.
But I guess once there was a point in my career where I decided to be my whole self, where I decided to stop hiding my earrings or my tattoos. I don't have earrings anymore, but like my tattoos, and like I would wear a polo and show some tattoos or things like that, and be show a little bit more of my personality. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I spent a lot of I spent a lot of the first parts of my career code switching, and like at work, I was a different person than the person I was in real life. And that was going through the process of where like I was like, man, I have skills, you know, I'm tired of not being who I am at work and stuff. Like going through that transition was tough. It was like really awkward at times, and it felt weird at times. But once I got through that, it was great too. But you know, I never got any like pushback. I've actually, you know, I've seen a lot of weird things in my life. But tech has been a pretty welcoming place for me. I haven't experienced any overt racism or discrimination or anything like that. Definitely some weird, like, you know, some weird things being said, like, you know, weird things, but those are more with coworkers that like, if you can't affect my mobility at an organization, I don't really care. You can, you know, that doesn't really bother me too much. But yeah, that was weird. Like coming into my own and being able to come to work and be who I am was a tough one. And it's interesting because I feel like once I could do that, I was so much better at my job. I was so much better at my job when I could just come to work without the feeling of having to be somebody else. So that was tough too. But you know, and a lot of that is probably self-imposed, like from things that we've learned. It may not have been necessary to not be who I was, but you know, life experiences at other sectors of the world, you know, have kind of, you know, forced me to be this. So I'm not saying it's anyone's fault or I had to do this because the world's like this. It's just that's just what it was. That was my experience, and that made it a little bit tough.
Nah, hold on.
Hey, listen.
You made a valid point there. So two things. One, with the imposter syndrome, I agree 100%. For me, it actually took me meeting other people because I've documented it. Like the first half of my cybersecurity career, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't talk to anybody. I tried. No one reached back. I was kind of like, F all y'all. And just kind of went about my own. And then, and because I did that, I felt like I had a chip on my shoulder and I always had something to prove. And being usually the only person of color, the only Black person in a tech shop, I always felt like I'm pretty sure you've heard it. You got to work twice as hard to get half the recognition. So I always used to look at it like I'm always looked at as the weakest link. So I'm going to grab all these certifications. And then on top of it, I wasn't college educated. So it's kind of like, all right. So I would look in a room and go, well, this person's here because of nepotism. He's not going anywhere. This person's here because, you know, they're legitimately good at what they do. This person's here because, you know, they have 2 degrees and whatever. And it's just, then it's me. All right. So now so if they come and say, hey, budget cuts, one's got to go, they're probably going to get rid of me. So I'm going to make the decision difficult for them. And that's when I just really started grinding and working my way up to sysadmin. Like you talked about going to sysadmin. And then when I got into cybersecurity, I kind of tried to do the same thing. And I was like, I need to learn all the things now. And it led to massive burnout and health issues. And then I started to network and it was like, oh, there's a lot of people who are in the same boat who feel the same way. And now we have an outlet. We can talk about it. We can be vulnerable with each other and talk about those things. And then, like you said, you don't have to know everything about everything. And it's okay to say, I don't know. And then the second part, like you said, with the code switching, I mean, yeah, I think it's a generational thing. If it's one thing that I will give credit to the younger generation, like the kids now, like my kids who are in high school and stuff, is that they are unapologetically them, as
100%,
as quirky or as weird or as funny or whatever. They are who they are, and for the most part, they are comfortable in their truth.
Yeah,
I envy that because we were taught differently. Keep your head down, do this, you know, always dress accordingly. Don't, you know, don't speak like you came from the inner city, you know. So for years it was the same thing. Like I'm in there, okay. And then it actually took me working at a place and I was going in, you know, pressed shirt, slacks, pants, because, you know, dress for the job you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I walked in and everybody was in t-shirt and jeans. So I'm looking like the only dumbass.
Yeah.
And a full get up,
yep.
Right? But then at the same time, it was like, but you know what? I still was like, nope, I'm still gonna do it because the moment I do it, it's gonna be different.
The moment you do it's gonna be different.
Right. And the moment I do it's gonna be different. So it was just kind of like, okay. And then eventually it was like, nah, you know what? Let me see what happens. So then it went from long sleeve shirts to short sleeve polo shirts, and then it went from slacks to jeans, and then it went from shoes to sneakers. It was a gradual transition, and now here we are. And you know, you can't tell anybody when to do it. It's something that they have to come up with on their own. But I think the one thing I like about the cybersecurity community is that just like these kids that we just talked about, a lot of them are now comfortable in their own skin. So now if we see more people in, especially in the roles that we aspire to have one day, walk around with colored hair and tattoos and piercings and stuff like that, it's like, okay, cool. I mean, heck, you got locks. For the longest, that was the I know someone who had locks and was basically stuck. Like they hit a glass ceiling, and it was like the moment they cut their hair, it was a choice. It was by choice, but they cut their hair, and then all of a sudden they got promoted, and they were like, and a manager actually came to them and said, "Yeah, you look way more professional now." So, like you said, it's more of this. It's kind of that. It's not. It's like the subtle.
Yep.
So, you know, so I agree 100%. Let's see. We have Christine says that all that comes with age too. No, absolutely. And then Kev says obstacles and hardships only make you stronger. The struggles of life make you learn and grow as in tech and as a person. True, but you know, sometimes you still have to have that outlet because sometimes the obstacles just seem insurmountable, and you might need someone to do it. And then let's see, my brother Lou says it's not a bad thing to have a chip on your shoulder. Sometimes it makes you grind even harder. Just have to learn how to utilize the position you're in. Yes and no. I'll let you speak to it first.
So this one, so I agree with you. Yes and no. I literally started my whole company out of a chip on my shoulder. So my whole company out of a chip on my shoulder. I had already started streaming on Twitch. I hadn't started a company yet or anything like that. I just streaming on Twitch, and I saw a job posting for was it A-Cloud? It was Linux Academy at the time before they had been purchased by A-Cloud Guru, and it was for a DevOps course architect. And I was like, this is it. This is made for me. I just started building curriculum. I just started teaching this stuff. I'm really finding my way in this space. I love the tech. I love the help. This is the perfect role for me. I even knew the one of the people. I found out about it through someone I knew, and I got an interview super quickly. And I went to the interview, and I killed that interview. I crushed it. I absolutely killed that interview. It was really good. I was super confident because I'm in this space, because I was doing the DevOpsy things day to day and building the curriculum. I crushed it to the point where I was in there with the person that shared it with me and recommended me, and the VP of course architecture or whatever. And I'm schooling him on. He's asking me questions about DevOps that he doesn't know the answers to it. I'm teaching him things technically. I'm talking through it. It felt like it went great. That was the fastest rejection letter I've ever gotten in my life. I got it so quickly.
Wow.
15 minutes after we were done, after I thought I killed it, got a rejection letter. I asked for feedback, and the only feedback I got was that I just wasn't a fit for the company. Great. And like that's when I was like, oh no.
The dreaded culture fit.
Yeah, and I'm actually, and I'm fine with that. I'm actually not. I wasn't actually upset about not being offered the role. I was upset about not being given meaningful feedback. I'm good. I had a role. I have mobility in the industry. But like I really didn't like that, and it was like, okay, well, if you guys aren't gonna have me do that, that's when I did my very first DevOps course. Because I was like, cool, I'm about to just teach my own DevOps course then. And so, you know, it's cool. It's fun to look at now, but it can be a good, if you can get over that obstacle, that's the key point. Like if you can, if that chip can stop you, that chip on your shoulder can stop you. It can force you off your path. Being able to wrangle your energy and put it in the right direction is, is necessary, and it doesn't always happen, and it's hard to do. You got to be in the right space, you got to have the right people around you, you got to have the right resources to put it in the right direction. So yeah, it can be good, but it can absolutely also be very bad.
So where I say I agree with it 100% is, yeah, sometimes it actually, if you're of the right mindset, it does make you grind and motivate you even harder. But for me, I used it as my sole source of motivation, right? So the chip on my shoulder was I need to get my family out of the living situation we're in. I need to provide a better lifestyle. I need stability. One of the things that my first chip that led me into tech was I was doing like low voltage electrical work and doing like the very first smart houses when everything was like by like the Logitech, I forgot the name of the remote, the Harmony remote, and you could control the blinds and the lights and everything through this remote. And I remember I was trying to get my apprenticeship for my low voltage electrical license, and the foreman or whoever it was, the manager basically said, why would I do that when I can continue paying you like $9 an hour? Right? Because if you get registered as an apprentice, you have to gradually go up until it's time for you to get your license. And it was at that point that I was like, no one will be able to ever dictate where I go in my career. So I'm going to get the certs. And if I say, hey, I need more money, I'm going to look at what I need to do in my career to elevate it. And if the job doesn't pay me, then I'm going to go find someone else who does, because I have the certs. And, and of course there's other things that play into it, but that was just my thinking at the time. So that was my first chip. And then everything was, I need to prove everybody wrong. I need to do this. I need to do that. So now what happens when that you no longer have those problems, right? Because your lifestyle changes, things change, and now you don't have those same motivations anymore. And it's like you don't know where to draw that motivation or that inspiration from. Yep. So now it was almost like tearing yourself down to rebuild, because it's like now it was like, all right, when I moved on to the next part of my career, it was like I'm not angry anymore. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things with like, it took a lot of therapy and stuff like that. But after a while, it was like, I'm not angry anymore. So what the hell, where am I going to draw that from? And I tried the whole Jordan approach where, we're in The Last Dance, where everything Jordan was like, oh, they said this about Dan Marley, I took that personally, or they said, hey, have a good day. And I was like, who the hell are you talking to? Right. I tried that. It didn't work. But I just feel like, that's where the remembering your why, which we'll get into later, is a good source of energy. As long as you can remember that, then you'll always have it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be positive or negative or a chip on your shoulder. It's just, this is why I'm doing it.
You need to give yourself a round of applause for that. You got to give yourself a round of applause. Remember your why. Love it.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for that. And then let's see. So where are we at? Oh, and the interview thing. It's funny, like that's pretty much where I'm at now, right? I applied for a couple training spots because I said, to me, that's the next phase of my career, which we're going to get into shortly. But I felt like the next phase of my career is that giving back and trying to help people, especially people in underserved communities, get into tech, because it was able to do so much for me. And I reached out to a couple places, and some places, they just flat out said no, or they felt like someone else was better, or you're not a culture fit. And then others were like, all right, cool, you can do it, but here's all these hoops and hurdles that you're going to have to do before we're comfortable saying, oh yeah, sure, you can call yourself an instructor. And it was like, listen, this is what I want to do. And now we're in a time, COVID showed us, we're in a time where we can literally do this here, get Microsoft PowerPoint or Google Slides, create a slide deck. If you want to do live teaching, get yourself one of these 5 whiteboards that I have around me.
Yep.
And get to work. you know, I see, like I said, I see you, I see Kev, I see other folks. I can't remember the names, but I see y'all doing it, and it's like I see Keep It Techie, I see I see Duan does a lot of stuff. I see Philip Wiley's going all over the place teaching, and I'm like, this is clearly there's a space for it, so let's make it happen. So now for you, you took that chip and created Mastermind Academy. So talk about, you know, the steps you took there, and then we're going to get into, like I said, the structure of of what you're doing with it.
Yeah, I mean, so that one's super interesting because so yes, the business was created off of the chip, but the original academy was created kind of serendipitously. So I was actually in the phase of my life where I was chasing the money, where, you know, I would stay at a job for a year, get what I needed out of it, and use that new experience to go make a big jump, make more money. Just because, whether I was still learning or not, whether I still like the people or not. And then I came to a place called Fearless. It was a dope software company, Black-owned software company out in Baltimore, doing big things. But I joined it. I was employee like number 34. There are well over 200 people now. And I had been there for a while. I had never worked at a job for more than 14 months ever in my life. I had lots of jobs. I get to a year. I love the people. I'm learning a ton. I don't leave. Another year goes by. I don't leave. Another year goes by, and I'm like, I've been here too long. I'm still having a great time. I love this place, but I went and the curiosity got me. I went and interviewed, and I got a job real fast. I got offered like 35,000 more than I was making, and I was like, cool, I'm out. I felt terrible going to them and saying, hey, like, I'm out of here because again, they were so good to me. Like I wasn't comfortable. It was and it's not contentment either. It was the right place for me in my life. It was the right place, and I was still learning. People were pouring into me. It was dope. I shouldn't have left, and I didn't leave. And the way that they kept me wasn't by matching the money. The way they kept me is the CEO, who I had developed a relationship with, sat down with me and said, hey, you know, we love you. If you got to go for money reasons, go. We still support you and your family. He was like, but if you want to grow, like, you know, we're committed to helping you do that. And the next day he said, hey, I'm starting this business incubator. And I would love for you to join. I had no desire to start a business. I wanted to go make more tech money. And I trusted him. I trusted him a lot as somebody I looked up to. And I said, hey, I'm not going to pass this up because, you know, I may not use this information now, but there might come a day when I can use it. So I joined, and I joined without a business idea, without a business name, without anything. And so I have been working with the Baltimore Black Techies. It's a meetup here in Baltimore. And we have been doing some curriculum, and we have been doing some stuff on like Google Meets, because people couldn't make it out to the meetup all the time after work. And so we did a couple things there. And then before one day, my brother-in-law, he was finishing up a software engineering program at Salisbury, I think, and we were doing some like algorithms and data structures, and I had just learned how to program not too long before. So we're kind of going through, and we're like, hey, we saw somebody coding on Twitch a couple of days before. We're like, let's throw it up on Twitch. Let's just see what happens. And like 2 or 3 people joined, and then we did it again, and like 8 people joined, and then we did it again, and then like 10 people joined. And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And so I was like, oh, this is my business idea for now. This is just the business I'm going to work on just because I don't have anything else to work on. And this is fun for me. This is something that I like. And that's how it started. And then I, like, instead of just getting on and just programming, I developed some real curriculum. I developed a Python bootcamp. That was actually the first bootcamp we ran, was a Python bootcamp. And then like halfway through that, we started the DevOps Bootcamp, and it did surprisingly well. Went from 10 or 12 people to like 40 people would be on every night. Like, and it was like, whoa, this is dope. And then the next run, it was like a 12-week boot camp. We took a month break, redid some things, came back, and like there were like 100 people the first night. I was like, oh, there is something here. There's something here. What's interesting is I've been watching Leon. Have you ever seen was Learning with Leon? He teaches some, I don't know if that's the name of his channel, but he's an instructor. He teaches like HTML and CSS on Twitch, and he went from having hundreds of people to the first time I hopped on the other day, 8,000 people were on there, and every night he gets thousands and thousands of people. So there's space for this. It's very interesting. But the stream has led to a lot of other things. I haven't streamed in the past 24 weeks because the streams actually led to me running an in-person boot camp here in Baltimore City. I actually ended up partnering with a nonprofit so that we could run a completely free, fully funded boot camp for members of Baltimore, so for people inside in Baltimore City, which is dope. That's what I love. It was pretty interesting, and I wanted to teach it myself first so I could understand the challenges, because the challenges are different. Learning in person is different. I prefer it, but it's very different, and so I learned a lot. It's something we're gonna continue doing, but I'm actually gonna go back to streaming starting back May 2nd. We'll be streaming again, and I'll actually have someone else teaching the in-person classes. But yeah, it's been dope, the kind of opportunities it's presented me. It's been dope to be able to help people in their career, and to like I hear people all the time like, hey man, like I literally went from making $10 an hour. I spent 6 months learning your content and other people's content, and now I'm making 65, 70 grand. And to me, that's life changing. And I'm looking forward to the future. And it's just like, man, that's dope. That's all I ever wanted to do, is provide people the opportunity that I didn't know existed. And I kind of stumbled upon. And, you know, I didn't finish school, and I thought my life was going to be tough. And the types of opportunity that tech gave to me is all I want for people. Like, that's literally my only goal. Like, my only goal.
Hey,
Man, yeah, like I said, that and you actually answered my next question. But hold on real quick. So Kobe Lewis says someone hired Davin Jackson, and then Kiki actually said, "No, I'm living my best life. No, I'm enjoying free agency right now. I'm enjoying free agency. Hopefully, I won't enjoy it, or I'll continue to enjoy it, and then I'll create something where I can have my own schedule. But for the moment, like I said, I'm working on a couple things. So I'm working, but I'm working on stuff that I want to work on. And then see, Kev said waiting for me to write a book. Listen, just stay tuned. But yes, but congratulations on that with the coming up with the academy. And for me, it's interesting because I see another friend of the show, Infinite Logins, Harley, says the InfoSec Twitch community is amazing. It is, but one of the problems that I had is I tried to do the same thing with similar. I wanted to stream a lot of cybersecurity content, but when you get into the pen testing and the hacking side of things, there's a lot of thin lines that you can cross, and they'll either mess with the algorithm and you don't get that, or next thing you know, your content gets taken down. So that was one of the challenges that I had, but that's what made me mainly stick with this. And honestly, I'm glad that it did, and I'm glad that it worked out. Like you said, you start off with just a couple people, and now you have a couple more, and next thing you know, you have a whole community, and now I have my pack, so congratulations with that. But you talked about basically, it's giving back, and a lot of the stuff that you're doing is nonprofit and absolutely free. And and I know usually when you talk to people in business, and you probably say that, they're probably screaming like, "Oh my gosh," because the point of business is to make money. So obviously I ain't trying to count your pockets, but how are you able to keep that? Because that's another challenge. People want to give back, but at the same time, people got to pay their bills too. So how are you finding that balance of giving it back, or even with your academy, where it's almost like a pay what you can type model? How are you able to give these models to the people, give a lot of content away for free, but then still be, I guess, the quote unquote successful business?
So I love this topic, and I'm a huge fan of being transparent about money. I think people need to talk about money more, because it's important. We don't work because it's fun, and sometimes it is fun. We work so that we can support our lives and do the things that we want to do. We work so that we can live. But yes, Mastermind Academy, the model is free. It's a pay what you want. I'm genuinely not No one needs to pay anything at all. But if you find value in it, yeah, sure, you can drop us whatever you feel is valuable. 50 cents, $1, $5, $100, whatever. It doesn't really matter. But one of the best ways to build a community and to sell more things is to give things away for free. So we teach for free. Now that's the academy portion. Yes, we teach for free. We will always teach for free. We're going to teach more and more for free. There's a lot of things coming up where there's going to be much more to learn. There's going to be much more opportunities to get the information that you need, to get the skills that you need in a great way. The model of Mastermind itself, though, is Mastermind is a B2B company, and so what we do is placements, and we use the community to entice companies. Companies are looking for ways to build pipelines internally. It is very, very expensive to hire engineers. It's very, very expensive to train engineers, and so we're fortunate enough to where the people that come through to the channel are hungry. Like, they're people that want to learn and are investing in themselves, and they want to be great. And we don't just teach entry level stuff. We teach kind of all level stuff. So we get entry level people, we get mid level people, we get some advanced people when we do specific series like Docker series and Kubernetes series and things like that. And so people become comfortable with the brand. They become friendly with the brand. They trust. They begin to trust us. And so when we put out a job and say, hey, we're looking for this, and we reach out to people, we don't have to work as hard to recruit. We don't have to really work quite as hard to do that, because people say, hey, like, you all actually know these things. Like, engineers generally, we all feel how we feel about recruiters. Some people have had good experiences, some people have bad experiences, and I completely understand. I've had mostly bad experiences with recruiters, and I don't consider myself a recruiter at all, because I'm really not. That's not my goal. My goal is simply to share opportunities with people, and if you're ready to take them on, great. And so if we can become close to all the engineers, if we become the place where people are going to get the information that they need, it's like, hey, I need to go learn this thing, and I know I can go to Mastermind to learn it for free, and I really like it because I get to interact with the community, and it makes it fun for me. It keeps me going. That's great. But companies love to work with us because the community that we're building, like, companies are looking for ways to tap into that market, especially during COVID, with everything, with all the more conferences and things shut down. Like, they weren't able to, it was harder for companies to get out into the community. And so that's where a bulk of our revenue comes from. The stream brings in a surprising amount of money. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like, the stream brings in a decent amount when we really get in going good. Like the stream itself, just the Twitch side of things, can pay for me to live, me and my family to live, which is really nice. I mean, we're living tight. If we were just to live off that, we would live in tight, but it's doable. It's doable if we needed to. But there are other things like sponsorships. I work with a number of companies. That's actually something we're going to push forward a lot. Sponsored job postings, things like that, super helpful. But I also do some corporate training as well. So we've developed a number of curriculum for organizations, actually, and surprisingly lucrative field, surprisingly annoying, though. I've never done something that can generate so much income that I despise doing than corporate training. It is every company wants specific things that, like, they want you to go learn. Basically, they want you to go learn all about their infrastructure, and they want you to build a solution, basically, and teach their people how to build that solution. And it's like, no, like, I don't have time. I don't have time for that. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, there are other things that keep the lights on. But yes, the Academy's free. It'll always be free. But it helps feed into more revenue generating aspects of the company.
Hold on, we got to find a different. There we go. All right, yeah, that's the closest thing to a gem I have. it was either that,
I like it,
or the Mario, or the Super Mario 1-up. So
they're pretty close. That was good.
Yeah, but that's interesting, and it's simply brilliant, actually, because it's like a simple solution. Because you have a lot of job recruiters or jobs that are like, hey, if you know someone who's looking, we'll pay a referral.
Yep.
And that's actually really smart. And I think Christine Winchester agrees. She says smart marketing. But like I said, but that's awesome. And to do it on Twitch, or starting just from teaching on Twitch, what was that like? I mean, what was those challenges? Because I know one of the things that really freak people out when they start streaming on Twitch is literally streaming to nobody, right?
No one.
There have been a few times where I'm streaming and it's like, yay, I have 4 viewers, but then I go upstairs and it's my wife on a device, my son, my daughter, right?
Yeah.
So talk about how you create the content, sometimes starting out streaming to nobody, because like you said, now you're streaming to thousands of people, but you start from streaming to nobody and you have to kind of basically keep that motivation, right? You have to keep that energy, because the moment, what I've learned is when you're streaming, especially live streaming, is the moment your energy is off, everybody sees it.
Yep.
So talk about the challenges of getting through those initial days of streaming to next to nobody, or streaming to what you thought might have been a bigger crowd and it's not the crowd that you were expecting, and now you have to kind of basically swallow that hurt or disappointment and keep on your game face during the stream.
Yes. Oh man, this is super stressful time, surprisingly. Like once I committed to this, luckily I was fortunate enough I never streamed to nobody, but there were definitely times where I streamed to one of the streamers was me monitoring on this screen, and like my wife and maybe one of my friends, and so that's tough. That wasn't super hard. What gets super hard is when you go from 3 viewers to 10 viewers, and then you come back on and you only have 4 the next time, and you're like, oh no, like that's much worse. I'd rather stream to 2 people forever than to go up to 10 and back down to 3. And it definitely messes with your mind. I think I watched a good video that talked about how organic growth on Twitch is not what you want. Twitch is not built for organic growth. So you got to build it outside. You build your viewership outside of the community. And as soon as I started doing that, it was super motivational. As soon as I told my friends and family, as soon as I went on Facebook, it was like, hey y'all, anyone interested in seeing what programming is, learning a program? And people would hop on for 10 minutes. They would just hop on to see what I was doing, to see what this thing was. And I would get more and more viewership. And my second set of boot camps, I think, really took off because I went and started interacting on Reddit. A lot on Reddit, and I mentioned it a couple times, and I had a post that really took off about it when I answered someone's questions, and people were like, oh, this is dope. And I was like, well, if you want to learn more, hop on here next week, because we're about to start this thing. And so that was pretty dope. But focusing on the numbers really is really tough. It's really tough, but I think if you are genuinely trying to run your channel like a business, if your goal is to ultimately make money off of these things, it is something that you need to track. Don't do it during stream though. I've learned to not look at viewership count during stream. It will destroy you. It will absolutely destroy you, because the first nights of the boot camps, I might be at 300 or 400 people, and then the second night, half of those people are gone because they were just in it to find out some information, and by the next week you're at 33% of what you originally started with, and things start to taper off and level out. And it's when you really focus on those numbers, it can be demoralizing, because you're putting in the work, you're putting in the energy, and you want to see positive growth. You want to find success, but the numbers are going to fluctuate. Keep track of them long term. Don't keep track of them night by night. Look at trends. Look at trends in your viewership is a lot more important. Pay attention to what people show up for though, and what they don't. Use those numbers. You should use those numbers as data. I haven't been doing a good job of it, but it's something I'm really going to focus on this time around, which is going to suck a little bit. I haven't streamed in so long that I'm sure my viewership is going to be very low in comparison, but I don't care. We've done a bunch of things. I'm back all in on this end, and we're gonna build it. We're gonna build it back up, but it's tough. You got to be tough to get through it. It's something that's gonna hurt. I'm not sure it doesn't hurt. One of the guys I was on a stream team, the Primogen, he's one of the bigger tech streamers. He works at Netflix. He does a lot of crazy stuff. He was like, one day in our group, he was talking about it. He was like, hey, and he was growing huge, and he was like, hey, 2 weeks ago I was in 400s every stream, and now I'm in the low threes, and like I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and I don't think it ever stops stinging. But use the data for value, but don't look at it. Don't look at it more than you need to.
Yeah. No, I tell people usually to not pay attention to the numbers while you're streaming, because that I can think back to a couple episodes where it was like I'm looking and then like I'm like 10
shut down.
People just drop 10. Like I'm like, and like I said, I have yet, and I'll be transparent about it. I have yet to break 100 viewers live. Right. I think I've gotten to about 50. I think I got to 60 once. Right. Or then you have certain episodes where it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna knock it out the park with this one, and nobody's watching. Right. You're like, I got the big name. I got the topic. Like I prepared for it, like, like 2020. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna knock this one out the park, and nothing. And then it just be like a random one, and it's just be like, wait, what?
Why is everyone here? Yeah.
But yeah, I tell people all the time, don't look at the views. Don't look at the views when everybody's watching, while you're streaming, because that will change up stuff. And then the other thing is, check the analytics. Check, see when people jump on, see when people jump off. Look, see how long they stay engaged. What topic were you talking about? And then how to pose your questions and stuff like that for the next one. Yeah. But yeah, but Twitch, that's just one cookie I haven't been able to crack. Like Twitch, like YouTube, I'm usually consistent.
Yeah, that
Twitch, boy,
that
Twitch made me say some words that I'll probably get banned before I get anything on Twitch.
Yep, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. But again, I think the important thing, build the audience, build your brand outside of it, though. Do it and bring people to your Twitch or to your YouTube stream, whatever works for you. The only reason I focus specifically on Twitch was in the beginning was because someone showed me all of the different interaction you could do by building. You could build whatever you wanted to interact with Twitch's API and make it much more interactive. I haven't utilized those things quite yet. I'm working on clever ways right now to utilize those things, but that was the drive to me to push it towards Twitch and the monetization model a little bit. YouTube's was a little bit harder to find streaming wise. And so that's one of the reasons we focused there, and we'll probably continue to focus there just because we started to build, a bigger brand there. But it is not like the amount of work and energy it took to go from averaging 20 viewers to 50 viewers. It took a very long time, and it took a lot of energy. It was a ton of energy to do that. And so it does take work. And so now when I look and see people like right now, one of the bigger programmer streamers is Bash Bunny, and she's got 360 people, but you got gamers with 18,000 right now, 5,000. And so you compare yourself to them, and it's like, ooh, like I'll never get there. But you got to look at the different spaces to kind of determine your success. You got to look at who's doing what in your categories and things like that. And again, even at just a couple hundred viewers, you can make, if your goal is money, you can actually make some really good money with just that many viewers.
The part that irks me though is that, so I don't try to compare myself to the video games, right? Because that's just unrealistic. And I don't compare myself to other tech streamers. But what irks me when you see the latest trend of you're watching someone read. Mm-hmm. And they're reading silently. They're not even reading the book to you. You're just literally just watching them read. And this person is getting hundreds of viewers consistently. And they're literally just like, I saw that and I was just like, oh, okay, you know what?
Yep.
All right, game on. Right. So I think you just got to stay with the consistency, and I guess it's about how you market yourself. So
I for a little while I considered taking a couple of months off and getting in the gym nonstop so that I could sit and study shirtless, so that everyone would watch me. Like it was like, how do I get people to want to just hang out with me while I'm doing something that I want to do, or it's interesting.
And they're not even interacting with them; they're just literally just.
Right. I mean, but there's value there. There is value there. It's something that people like. I've been in co-study streams where I think people just like to feel the community. The chat is really there for each other. They're hanging out with this person, but they're really just interacting with each other and having a good time. And it's like, hey, there's definitely value there. I think that's why I find streaming so interesting. And what people like is just so varied, and it makes it really hard to figure out what I want to do streaming wise. Like, I had a lot of plans for my stream, and I have a lot of plans, and I have some things that I'm going to be doing coming up that, are fun for me. But it's always interesting to see how the world is going to take on those things, how people are going to take those things, if they're going to find them as interesting as you and as interactive and engaging as you think they're going to be. But yeah,
it's art. It's, what I'm saying? Because essentially it's art form, right? You put out, I compare it to when people put out a painting, or they put out music, or they put out some type of art, a movie, a video, and then you put it out to the public, and you're sitting back looking to see, did they get it? Did they see what I see? So, and it's terrifying. Every week I am terrified when I come on, when I hit that countdown, because it's just like, am I able to relay that this week? Or can I, and like you said, can I keep up the momentum from, because I'm a weekly show, and usually they say you got to be daily, you got to come out with 2, 3, 4 videos daily, and then and then these are the people that you're competing against. But yeah, like you said, it's interesting to see what people are interested in, but to me it's also, like we talked about with the chip on your shoulder, it can either be something to detract you, like, wait, what the hell? Or it could be something that's motivating. Let's see, real quick before we start wrapping up. So King Charles says, should newbies focus on getting our own Twitch company, academy, or business, or should we focus on getting really good at what we do in tech, and those things will come to us? So here's the thing that I learned. Yes, you should create some type of content while you're learning it, right? Build as you grow. I felt that I needed to be established before I started blogging. And then it was like, but essentially when you're blogging, what are you doing? You're typing up about what you learned. So there's no rule that says you have to feel like you've learned it at that moment. You can learn it and type as you're learning it. And guess what? If you learned something new, there's an edit button. Go edit it or update it and say, hey, this is what I've learned, whatever. A lot of people, like going back to what you were talking about with the reading streamers, or people interested in what they're interested in. A lot of people like to follow that path, right? Like I put out when I put out the blog about me failing the OSCP exam the first time around, I put that out for me. Because that was my way of basically tackling imposter syndrome and just being like, screw it here. And I put it out, and it got so much of a response that it was like, oh, people were actually invested in this. So there's nothing wrong with building it as you grow. Now, going and pretending to be an expert at something, that's where it's different. Because see, what happens is people start blogging, and then they want to start doing things like coaching calls and stuff like that. That I don't recommend, right? If you just want to blog about your progress, or vlog about your progress, or do a Twitch stream, like Aaron said, with the co-working streams where you're typing up your code and networking that way, that's one thing. But do not, if you don't know it, don't accept money to say you know it, because not only are you setting yourself up for failure, now you're also setting up that person who invested their finances for failure.
Thank you for being brave enough to say that. It is one of my biggest pet peeves. It is a huge pet peeve. And I felt so uncomfortable with it. Me and a guy used to be on, he's on a number of our streams. Doug works at Facebook. He's super dope, super knowledgeable. He's an amazing coach, a career coach. He really knows his stuff. He knows how to deal with people well. We were going to try to start a little coaching business, and I think there's value there. I think we both know plenty, but I felt so uncomfortable with it. I felt so it felt, to me, not gonna lie to you, it felt so predatory to take people who are looking for a way in and making them pay money, people who are looking for more money, who are looking for the ability to generate more income, and taking money out of their pockets to to give them advice. There is value in there. Information's valuable. Knowledge is one of the best currencies right now. But yes, even though I like it's just something I felt uncomfortable with it. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I just think because there's no way for us to easily vet these folks, be careful who you spend your money with for that. And if you're someone who wants to get into the coaching game, take those words into account. You know, you're not only messing with yourself, you're messing with someone else. Like you're messing with someone else's career path, their life. And so it's just I wish people were more cognizant of as much experience as I have. I just don't even feel as comfortable yet just being like, hey, I'm the person you should come to. I feel all comfortable giving you the advice on where to go. Everyone's life is so much different. Tech moves so fast. You know, people live in different places in the world that affect their ability to work at certain places, to do certain things. I really think people should be more mindful of that. And so like I'm really glad that you said that.
Yeah, no, I because I mean, and that's personal for me because I remember spending money that I didn't have, right? You know, because I'm like, this is an investment. So I remember spending, you know, my last couple $100 or going to my homeboy and him loaning me, you know what I'm saying, a little bit of money so to make sure I could still pay my bills but also pursue this career. And I can only think about I can't imagine what would happen if I entrusted it to somebody and come to find out they just took my money and gave me bad information. Like I'm from a different time.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then my thing is, you know, and that's why I specifically say coaching. Like if you put out a guide, absolutely, you know, you put time and effort into that guide, you did your research, absolutely. But if you're someone who, like I said, you know, you're new to the game yourself and you're taking information that you either got from another resource, or I mean, another big thing I see is like plagiarizing other people's work and selling it off as your own, then that to me, that's a problem. And then I also say there's a thin line between coaching and mentoring, right? So if you come to me and say, hey, what book should I look at? And I go, oh, you should, in my opinion, you should check this, and this out, right? Or you should go check out this resource, right? But if you come to me and say, hey, I want to develop a plan to kind of get into tech, and then we got to actually sit down and, you know, I help you study or I help you whatever, then that's a coaching thing. Then yes, now you're charging for your time, but just make sure you're knowledgeable enough to stand on it, because these people are trusting you. And like I said, you know, if you went to a professor or you went to a tech boot camp and they gave you this information and then you go out and you get laughed out of a room because it is just categorically false and wrong, you're going to feel some type of way. Like, I just invested all this money into somebody. So don't do that don't like you said, don't be predatory to other people. Let's see. Willie says, do beards and facial hair really matter in interviews? They're not supposed to. They're not supposed to. But again, going back to the conversation about what we said about how we were preconditioned to do certain things, make sure you make sure whatever it is you speak on, you live up to it. So Tyrone Wilson coined this phrase last year, and I keep using it. The keyboard don't lie. So if you can go out there and say, hey, look, yeah, I got my hair a certain way, I got tattoos or whatever, but you put me behind a keyboard and I'm gonna knock it out the park, just make sure you're able to stand to that. It's not supposed to, but just like other things, you know, there's like, it's almost like unwritten rules. I haven't had any problems with my beard. It was when it was a little bit longer, I used to get, like you said, the little subtle comments, you know, whatever.
I find the tech community loves beards now. Like now it's like you know, I think nowadays the tech community is all about beards. If you have one, I think it's fine. You know, just as far as anything, make sure it's relatively well groomed. I think you'd be okay.
Yeah, I always just follow the thing. Just, you know, always be presentable.
Yep, always be presentable.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Always, I mean, like I said, even if you're in a t-shirt, Make sure you're being presentable. I notice I'm flickering here. Let's see. Oh, and when we were talking about the stream, Infinite Improbability said it's like weighing yourself. Don't go off what you weigh day by day. Use the week average.
Perfect. 100%. That's the gospel right there, because I know a lot of people who do weigh themselves daily and wreck themselves because they gain 2 pounds, not realizing how your body works and how weight loss really works. And you know, trends are much more important than the daily number.
I was going through that in the beginning. I was weighing myself every day, first thing in the morning. They say that's the best time to do it, but even then, it was still like, all right, listen, I know I lost at least 2.
At least 2. I just started my diet midday yesterday, but I lost 2 for sure. Yep. I definitely lost 2.
Or the part that killed me is like I went on this whole thing, like I did like a 2-day detox, and then I was eating like salads and fish for like a week, and like the weight just. And then my birthday was this past week, and I gained, and then I got on the scale Monday, and it was like, yeah, what weight? Every weight, all the weight that I thought I lost, I found.
You found.
In a weekend.
But you got to imagine that if you didn't lose that weight that you thought you lost, you'd have been even higher. So, you know, you gotta think about it like that.
Yep. So Kev, when we were talking about content and coaching, he says, I don't do that. I do it for free. And if you want something in depth, you have to pay, since I'm a trainer outside my full-time job.
Yo.
Absolutely. He says, I give all the free stuff first before I ask for money to give you training. Yeah. No, it's facts.
Yeah. And again, I want to make sure people know I'm not opposed to you starting a business, like to people taking money for sharing information. 100. I think you should, and I generally encourage people to invest in themselves financially to get to where they want to be. 100%. I think because information's so readily available, I've noticed people I know people who are taking advantage of people right now. And the problem is they don't know they're taking advantage of people. I know people
they know.
It's way worse. Like, so if I do the person new, I think I would have to say something. I think I would have to be vocal about, hey, you know, I'm not telling you not to use this person's services. I'm saying be careful. And yeah, you don't know what you don't know, and that's always what scares me about coaching, is you don't know what you don't know. And I've learned, you know, 5 years ago I would have said I probably know everything about the tech industry, but I learned so much in the past 5 years, and you're always learning more about what's going on, and your opinions change and all that stuff. So I just, you know, I hope people are. I wish that people would be a little bit more thoughtful about what they're offering. I know people offering all services for everything. You want to be a network administrator, you want to be DevOps, you want to be a programmer. I got the juice for you. You know, it just sucks because it's, you know, people's money is important.
Nah, yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna get down to the last few questions. So when you're not doing tech and you're not teaching, what are some of your hobbies?
I'm into motorsports big time. I have more cars than I should have, but I'm trying to. I was never really like a mechanic. I'm good with my hands, but I was never really like a mechanic. So I'm really learning right now. I'm trying to build a race car. You know, I got a truck and I'm working on getting a trailer right now, but I do track days as often as I can. It's a very expensive hobby, so that really sucks, especially after having purchased a new home. You know, I'm definitely going to be able to. I got to start doing much better at business so I can go whenever I want. To be honest, that's probably my biggest hobby. I used to play video games a ton. We had our first kid last year. She just turned 1, and so like, I don't have.
You got a lot of changes going on, man.
A lot of changes. So I don't have time. You know, running a business, I don't have time to play games like I used to. So I do play my Nintendo Switch. You know, I never thought that was going to be a system for me because I was a hardcore PC gamer, like hardcore. I have a monster computer, and so now the Switch just gives me the ability to sit down and play a game for 15-20 minutes when I have time. I love to play when I'm traveling. So gaming, you know, was probably my next biggest hobby, but right now it's just hanging out with the family, and when I can drive, I go drive. In fact, I purchased the house. The house that we purchased is literally on my favorite back roads section of of the state, and so
Yeah.
it's pretty dope. That's usually like I'll work pretty late. We'll put the baby down. I'll do a little bit more work, and to blow off steam, I'll go for a drive.
That's dope. I agree with the gaming thing. Like my Steam collection is probably the worst investment. Like there's no ROI on my and now I try to block the Steam summer sale because I never get to play them. Like I'm a big RTS guy, so Total War, Warhammer, and XCOM, and
I love XCOM.
every time that comes, I'm like, shut up and take my money.
Yep.
And then I'm like, I'm gonna get to you one day, and then I never do. But yeah, I find myself with the Switch, especially Mario Kart.
Mhm.
I'm like, all right, cool. I can do this for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I actually picked up like I bought a drone because like I want to get into like that will force me to get outside and I could fly the drone around and take photos and stuff like that. But I'm
Dope.
trying to make sure I do it right and get like the FAA trust. I got the FAA trust. Now I got to get like the Part 107. This way, if I want to if I take any good pictures or whatever, I can sell it and hopefully make some of that money I spent on that drone back.
That's why I'm not gonna get I'm not even gonna ask you any more questions about it because that sounds enticing to me, and I can't have another expensive hobby.
Yeah, and of course I went and got the FPV one. So I got the one with the headset. So it's like you're looking out of the camera view of the drone. So that's a dope experience. But like I said, I paid for that. So all right, so what's what's next for you in the academy?
So but this is why maybe we should link up and talk after this. But what I want the academy to be is like right now I stream 3 days a week max. I really don't even want to stream that often because again, running a business, there's a lot of other things going on. But I want to get it to a place. I want to hire some more instructors. I want some other people to teach. I want something to be available on Mastermind Academy daily, which would be super dope. But we're also in the middle of building 2 platforms. We might combine it into one, but we're not 100% sure. One is going to be an open source course authoring platform. So how do you take all of the information that's out on the web right now and because there's information for everything, and we want people to be able to build courses out of that, build full courses about whatever. It'll be tech at first, but eventually we'll open it up to everybody. But we want people to be able to come in and truly author courses with the information that exists. But we're also, because of a lot of demand we get, we're building a platform, a subscription platform for pre-recorded courses. For right now, it's not going to be for consumers. It's going to be specifically for businesses, B2B stuff, the corporate training. We get all the time. People will be like, hey, do you have a DevOps course you can just give us that we can license, that you can just show to our people like whenever they want to go through it? And I don't have that, and I fought against it for a while because I think there's a lot of value in person, but scalability of a business, we're probably going to do that. But we're going to build in the way that if we want to open up to consumers later, we will. But again, I'm super big on, I think corporations and companies should pay for, they're the ones who need us to know these things. So I think they should always foot the bill. This is people are like, why wouldn't you open that up to us? I would pay for that. It's like, I don't want you to have to pay for it. I'm gonna find ways to give it to you for free. I want to give it to you. The consumers, I want you to have it for free. And I want the businesses to invest in you. So we're working on a model for that, where businesses can put forth money and get exclusive, they don't get rights to you, but access to interact with you and to, send jobs directly to you and things like that. And so, working on some stuff, but those are the big things that are on the table right now. Yeah. So if you ever want to come through and do a course about anything, feel free, put it on.
We'll talk. Cause like my goal is, anything I put out, I can't do the free model just yet, but I want to make sure I want to make sure it's affordable. So I'm not charging thousands or maybe not even hundreds of dollars for a course. Like I'm going to make sure I make it affordable. But if a conference comes calling or a company comes calling and says, "Hey, we want you to teach a workshop here," oh, absolutely. The cost of the cost is going up. Yesterday's price is not today's price. And I'm like, hey, well, I saw you do it over here for this. Fine, then buy this many free for your people, but you're still gonna pay. So yeah, I agree 100%. Like I feel like you know, there's a lot of people out there who don't even know that this is an option for people, for you to be successful, and may not have the money. So it's like I said, I got to think back to where I was at that time, and you know, few $100 it means a lot to some people, especially just starting out.
Yeah.
So all right, so you're on an elevator. Someone gets on the elevator and they ask you for three tips on how to navigate their career in tech. They're new to it. What would they be?
One, get comfortable being uncomfortable. I think that's just good life advice, period. But in tech, you are never going to know all the things. You're never going to be completely comfortable. And as soon as you can get comfortable operating outside of a comfort zone, knowing you're going to be there, super duper valuable. So as soon as you can get comfortable being uncomfortable, that's great. The second thing that I would say is to be vocal, be loud. So talk to people, but be vocal and loud about what you're doing and where you want to go. People want to help you. People, you know, everyone has their feelings about the world, but people want to help people. It's just natural. People want to help people, especially people who are trying to help themselves. And so be vocal and loud. Let people know what you're doing. You never know who's got the hookups, who can help you out, who can put you in the rooms, who can put you in the positions that could change your life. And the last one goes against this general advice. To me, this is I always go here. If you are trying to be successful in tech and you don't know where to go, my advice is always the 3 C's: code, cloud, containers. For the foreseeable future, I think that's the space. Those are the spaces in which I think if you start to dive into, if you don't know where to go, where you're guaranteed to find some success. You only need to learn, like you can get jobs just learning one, but I think that's right now and for the next few years as people are learning. I think it's a really good trifecta. It's the things that I know. It's the reason why I offer. There are other options out there, but code, cloud, and containers is my go-to for the things you should learn going forward. Linux always, but that's the base of all those things. Code, cloud, containers is my last bit of advice.
I mean, I would add the 4th C in say cybersecurity, but it doesn't ring off. It doesn't roll off the tongue when it's clouds and containers.
I agree, but cybersecurity is big. I agree. I would love to. I'm super interested in the cybersecurity space, but it's a whole new set of it's a lot of the stuff that I've already learned. It's the Linux, it's the networking, it's all that, but it's a whole new set of challenges, and so it seems gigantic to me, but maybe it's not. Maybe one day we gotta sit down and chop it up so I can learn a little bit more about what it all entails. But yeah, scary to me.
Absolutely. So final question. Like I said, we touched on it earlier, but this is a question I ask for every single guest. So for you, Aaron, what is your why?
Oh, my why is so I'm an explorer. My mom hates this. The reason why I work so many different places and I do so many things, like I want to experience life in different ways. I see something and it interests me, I want to go participate in it. My why is simply to ensure that everyone has the means, or as many people as possible have the means to live their lives the way that they want to live their lives. It's super duper important to me that people can do so. I lived part of my life with the whole world seemingly against what I want. I would say, oh, I want to do this thing. And everyone's like, you can't do that. Why would you want to do that? Even little stuff. Like the other day, like we had a baby on the way and I was like, hey, I really want to buy a Corvette. And like my whole family was like, boy, what are you talking about? Like, nah. What do you like? Why would you do that? You can't do that. You got a baby on the way. It's like, well, we already have 2 cars that we can drive the baby around in. Like, and I have the money. Like, I just want to get a Corvette, like little stuff like that. But you would be surprised about have you really throw out what you like, the things that you want to do, the things that you're really interested in that are a little bit unorthodox to everyone else. Like I'll just say like, oh, I'm trying to go skiing. People will be like, well, why you want to do that? Like, and it's like, no. I want to be able to explore, and I want people to be able to have the means to explore life. That's what money does. I really don't care about money. I don't care about money at all. I care about the ability to do the things that I want to do.
Right.
And my why is hopefully it's helping you get to a space where you can do the same.
Yep. 2 things. People get uncomfortable when you surpass their goals that they have set for you. tech was that for me, right? Everybody was like, why you want to do that? Why you what why you jump? And everything was like, get in this warehouse or get this weed retail or go work at Target or go work here or there. And when I said I was or learn a trade, and when I was like, I'm going into tech, it was the same thing. It was like, wait, what? And then I did that, and I was like, I'm getting into cybersecurity. And then I'm like, oh, I'm an ethical hacker. And they're like, there's no such thing. And then it was like, oh, okay, he's actually doing it. He's doing well. And then it was like, all right, cool. Now that I've gotten to where I want to get, I want to advance certain things. I want my kids to thrive. I want my wife to succeed in her business. So now we're moving. Wait, what?
Yep.
Right. But yeah, that's why that's where this came from. Always bet on yourself.
I need one of those.
I'll put the link here. I'll do you one better. I'll put the link to the merch store in the chat. But Perfect. yeah, always bet on yourself, because that's your biggest advocate. And sometimes you're your only advocate when no one else understands what you're doing. And tech will get you lonely sometimes. So always bet on yourself. So Aaron, again, thank you for stopping by. I know we originally had talked about saying I was gonna knock this out in an hour, but then you said you had time. So yep. I'm glad you took that extra time today. I appreciate you. We're gonna give you a round of applause again.
I appreciate it. Appreciate being here. I can't even tell you how, I appreciate the invite. I believe it or not, like I've been watching what you've been doing. I've participated in a number of these. Usually when I'm working, I've put this up on the side and just kind of listened in. You've had a lot of dope guests on here. You've introduced me to a lot of dope people. But this is cool. I definitely want to chop it up again. This is I love this. I love this. Hey, I'm a supporter, but it is dope.
Appreciate it. But tell the people how to find you, man.
Yeah, so you can find me just about anywhere at MasterMindIO. So Mastermind does not have an I in it. So it's MasterMND at most places. Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn. That's Facebook. That's what it's going to be. Best places though are definitely LinkedIn. LinkedIn and Twitter are probably the best places. Definitely give my Twitch channel a follow. Like I said, we have some boot camps coming up. We have Camp Code, Camp Cloud. So if you want to learn how to if you want to learn some deep computer science topics, learn how to code, we're going to be doing that. It's 22 weeks, completely free, 1 day a week. If you want to learn all about AWS, we'll be doing that as well. And we have a whole brand new DevOps course coming up. So one starts May 2nd, one starts May 3rd, one starts May 5th.
Man, damn, I'm going to give you another round of applause again, because I guess I'll talk about, like, I'm currently trying to create a course and like a guide to kind of be like a companion guide to it. And I know the work that it takes, and I'm only on, that's my first one. So now to do that and then execute it and then have those 3 camps going on, and those aren't simple subjects, right? Cloud and coding and Docker and containers, and like that's super impressive. So congrats to you, man. That's and then to do it, and then to be able to do it and give it to the people for free. That's dope. That is dope. Like I said, I'm a fan, sir. I appreciate that, man. That is awesome.
Thanks, man. So, those words help me keep going. They really do.
Yeah, man. Like that. I mean, because you don't see that, man. That's amazing. So, like, yeah, make sure everybody watching, please go give this man a follow. Go check out his Twitch channel. Go follow him on social media and give this man the damn support he deserves, man. When are we gonna do it again?
Thank you.
So with that, we're gonna wrap the show. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody watching, this has been another episode of InfoSec Unplugged. I have been your host, Davin Jackson. This has been my guest, Aaron Brooks. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, because Hacker Valley Blue is going another episode. So I'm still hosting Hacker Valley Blue. Make sure you go give them a like and subscribe to their channel, their YouTube channel, their site. Go follow them on LinkedIn. Go follow them on Twitter, and tell them to make sure I come back for next season. But new episode of Hacker Valley Blue tomorrow. I will have guest McKenna Yakey on. So make sure you go check that out. And again, for those who don't know, we have InfoSec Unplugged on Thursdays, Hacker Valley Blue on Fridays. And then make sure you tune in to InfoSec Unplugged next week, because I am going to have another special guest on. I am going to have Stephen A. Hart, who is the host of Trailblazers FM. If you are on LinkedIn, especially in the morning time, I'm pretty sure you have seen him. He has hosted several interviews on his podcast that he does over on LinkedIn. I think he's in like the LinkedIn content creator program. Go check him out. Like I said, we're going to be talking about a lot of things, but we're also going to be talking about, mental health and vulnerability and, overcoming that in the face of COVID with families and managing careers. So that's going to be a super important conversation. So make sure you tune into that. And like I said, InfoSec Unplugged episode 50 is coming up. So again, Aaron, you are more than welcome now, since you are a member of the pack and you are now officially a guest. All my previous guests, if you want to come on and just let me know what you've been doing, and if you want to share some kind words to me, or they don't even necessarily have to be kind, just know I'm going to respond back. You are more than welcome to join the show. And like I said, I hope to have a big turnout for that one. I will pay attention to the numbers for that one, because that is a big milestone for me. But until then, everybody, please make sure you go out there and you stay safe and just keep learning all the things. I will see y'all later. Take care.
Oh, peace.